Hello, hello, and welcome to ohmTown Daily, Season 3, Episode 5 for January 5th, 2024. I corrected it in the show notes, finally. I am Mayor Watt. That's ohmTown.com, and up there is the visualizer for the sentient AI. You want to say, yo, what's up, mother? Just say hello.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens. Happy Friday.
Oh, the visualizer isn't working. Now it is. It's up there.
So happy Friday again.
Yeah, there you go. Now people can actually see the visual representation of the AI's voice. Well, welcome to the show. I've already got all 10 of the articles all selected, and we're going to start out with Sweet Sweet Money, then Copilot Keyboard, more Sweet Sweet Money hikes, You Shall Not Passport, Do Not Use the Force car wash, Digital Rights Management in Trains, Neptune's True Colors Are Not Shining Through, Literal Deserted Pile of Clothing, and Thicc-Fil-A, am I right, in Tennessee? And Bugaboo Pocket Tamagotchi like game. That and a whole lot of snark. Next on. I need to get that intro updated so that it's more blue.
That's right.
Update it for 2024. Maybe I'll do that every year. I'll do a new intro. And I'm going to move, I think I'm probably going to move away. I run Stream Elements, which does like transitions and other stuff, but it actually has a lot of good hookup for interactivity and stuff like that. But I also use, StreamBot, which is a little streamer bot is actually what it's called. It's a program that allows me to cause interactions and stuff to take place. Programmatic commands and all kinds of things. It's pretty cool. Anyway, does that really matter? No. Let's get into the news. The first one is over in the Hatch Ideas channel. Let me scoot up a little bit to the plate here. I'm gonna crowd the plate. Probably get beamed in the head with a baseball. It's okay. Am I a little too close?
That's not good.
Am I too close?
A bit close.
Bit close?
A bit close.
Yeah. The camera adds 10 pounds. When I get closer, it shows the 25 that should have been added. Anyway, first article's over in the Hatch Ideas channel because it has to do with business. Cookies and candy are the latest victims of climate crisis as sugar prices surge. I'm more inclined to think that suppliers are being greedy bastards for that sweet, sweet candy money. Cost of sugar surges to highest level since 2011 after dry spell in India and drought in Thailand. And price hike has already filtered down to desserts. That's right. The climate crisis has been previously identified as a threat to coffee and beer, and its impact could now be stretching to another of life's joys, dessert.
You know, isn't anything sacred? I mean, everything has been in a shortage, but it's been actually stuff that people need. But really, now it's desserts.
We can't have sweet things. The sweet life is very expensive. Let me see if I can get... The bot didn't throw the title in the chat. I don't understand what's going on. Every once in a while, and I looked right at the amount of time we've been streaming at 4:20. Nice. All right. Anyway, let's go over to the source. It's at The Guardian. Oliver Millman is the author. Cost of sugar surges to highest level since 2011 after dry spell in India and drought, which I would suspect is a dry spell in Thailand as well, right? A drought is a dry spell?
Yes.
Maybe an extreme dry spell. And price hike has already filtered down to desserts. And they're talking about, they have Oreos on the screen. I'm not much of a chocolate Oreo eater anymore. I like the vanilla ones. Don't throw error messages.
I mean, that's probably contrary to a lot of viewers out there.
Yeah. Are you okay? So if you're in chat or you watch it over in the YouTube, watch it over in the YouTube. No, if you go over to YouTube and you watch ohmTown over there after it's been published over there, post in the comments if you're a vanilla or chocolate Oreo or original. Are they original Oreo and then vanilla?
Yes,
or is it chocolate?
I mean, that
and
looks
vanilla?
like the original. Yeah.
I don't know. This really doesn't have anything to do with the nuts and bolts of this article. But anyway, rising global temperatures. 2023 is expected to be widely confirmed as the hottest year ever recorded. Yeah, I believe that. 2024 will probably trump that. They're fueling droughts and other extreme weather affect food yields, including that of sugar. The price hike has already started to filter down to chocolate, sweets, and other desserts. U.S. consumers saw prices for sugar and sweets rise by 8.9% in 2023 and a 5.6% increase is expected this year if everything remains the same. But I'm guessing that we're going to see another 10%. We'll see. In November, Mondelez, a sprawling business that includes Cadbury, Oreos, Toblerone, among its brands, warned of price increases for its products. Boy, does this scream to that random comment that was made to me in 2019. The era of cheap food is over. Again, I really
mean,
wish...
that person was so on target.
Yep. And I thought that it was just off the cuff comment, right? Like just a random discussion point. But this person comes from the supply side. That's what I remember of this person. They were a high-level business person on the supply side of the food supply chain. And they basically said that the supply side is going to start jacking up the prices. There's money on the table. And if you want cookies on the table, if you want food on the table, you're going to have to slide more of that money over. And this is just another of the supply side. The sugar that goes into all of the foods that end up on our tables is going through the roof.
Sugar goes into a lot more foods than people realize.
Yeah, pretty much everything. I mean, it's
even
just
things
a little
that you
bit.
don't think of as sweets, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, stuff like salt gets thrown in to sweet things, and you're like, what? Why is salt in this? Yeah, it's because it's all a chemical additive ultimately. But large corporations have a range of motivations for price increases, cautioned Gernot Wagner, I guess is their name, a climate economist at the Columbia University Business School. But the underlying threat posed by climate change cannot be denied. So even they're hedging more towards greed than climate change. Otherwise, they wouldn't go, oh, well, there's a range. No, if it was climate change, they would have leaned into, coming from a climate economist, they would say the primary mover in the price increase is climate change causing ... But no, they say extreme weather is affecting food. A year ago, it was avocados. Now it's sugar. Climate, they say climateflation, which is just a clunky word, is a thing and it's getting worse. It's convenient for the owner of Oreos to point to climate change for our price increase, but it's also understandable. So it's convenient because they can say, well, it's this disembodied mechanism called climate change, not greed. But really, it's greed. The price and import of sugar in the U.S. are affected by various regulations, meaning the consequences of high sugar prices will be less than in some other countries. The impacts will most likely severely, I guess, will most severely be felt by...
I think it's missing a B in there.
It might be their turn, because this is from The Guardian, so whoever the author is, maybe it's their particular speech pattern. The impacts will be most severely felt by developing countries and subsistence farmers, according to Joseph Glauber, a senior research fellow at the International Food Policy Research Institute. I need to get one of these cushy brain trust gigs. Maybe be on several of these boards.
I mean, I wonder if you get snacks while you sit on the board.
Really expensive, ever increasing by 8.9% cost snacks. Overall, worldwide food inflation could hit as much as 3% a year by the 2030s due to climate crisis if major adaptive work is not undertaken, a working paper by the European Central Bank stated last year. So look, man, this is a known issue, and it's literally becoming a business mechanic for the banking system to demand that everything increase by 3% to cover the requirement for just food to stay. And I've never quite understood it. And I've gone through business school. I've advised
right, it's not
people.
A lack of intellect. It's just something isn't working.
I guess it's a lack of a philosophical alignment with what global business, which doesn't actually exist, global business. Like there is no global banking. It's all local banking that gets transferred from one country to another through large local purchases back and forth. I purchase from a company in Europe and they send it to me. And I ended up going down an associative thought that I probably should have avoided at this particular juncture because my brain isn't quite working in this mode. But my point is that the greed of businesses knows no geographical boundaries, and everybody sees money on the table somewhere, and so they're jacking up the price. When a whole lot of US dollars are in the US economy, suddenly prices from foreign countries start getting jacked up because there's a whole lot of money that can be transferred into their local economy from foreign investors saying, yeah, we want this product. And those foreign countries go, well, you have a ton of cash. Why don't you start sending us more? And again, it's back to the banks because they're supposed to be the ones that are underwriting all of this business, all these loans and whatnot.
Well,
we're all tied together.
That's a whole other issue.
So here's another quote in here. Our food crops are basically optimized for how the weather has been for the last 10,000 years, a relatively stable climate that we are now leaving. We are leaving this Goldilocks temperature band, and that is going to put pressure on the availability of food and price of food, which is just a dystopian, batshit crazy thing to hear in the 21st century.
Yeah, that's true, right? I mean, why should that be a temporary status, etc.?
I mean, it's really insane. We are living in a Goldilocks zone, and this person is saying that we are leaving the Goldilocks zone. How insane is that?
I mean, I guess we need to go to Mars or something and get our Mars potatoes.
Yeah. Well, potatoes.
Right.
So the implication here is what? We had better do something about this, or we aren't going to have any food. Because when we fall out of the temperate band of the Goldilocks zone, nothing survives. Look at Mars.
Exactly. I mean, it's like this is kind of a bigger problem than
your profits
than we're getting from the article.
Jeez. Yeah, there's nothing dystopian here. Move along. The next article is over in the Warcrafters channel. Microsoft is adding a new button to PC keyboards for the first time in almost 30 years, and it's for AI. That's right, the Copilot key is coming to keyboards near you. Well, I hate to break it to you, but I will kill Copilot dead in its tracks. I do not want hard-coded AI in my operating system. I don't want it to exfiltrate any telemetry. I don't want it to sit there and require a cloud account. Kiss my shiny metal ass. I just leave. Give me the damn operating system.
Do you like Copilot?
Sure. The article's over in PCGamer.com, Andy Chalk. The new Copilot key will be seen at CES and will start to roll out later this month. The company today unveiled the Copilot key, which is code for insidious invasion using artificial intelligence to basically understand you to a point where it's creepy. It's the uncanny valley of operating systems.
Is that what they put in their marketing materials?
Ugh, God, it's just gross. Let me use AI as an external source. Don't embed it in my system where I have to cope with the craziness that is AI hallucination. Let me just have the damn operating system. But no, you have to bloat it all up with something as technologically psychotic as AI. It spews bullshit all the time. Why do I want it in my operating system? I'm a little passionate about this because I know from experience how much data is exfiltrated from operating systems, primarily Windows. And the more software you put on your system, the more it leaks.
Well, and the more these companies become larger and larger and have more tentacles throughout the industry, like that's even more concerning. I'd be a lot less concerned if there was some tiny company that had all my info than something like a Microsoft level company.
Yeah, what can they do, right? There's only so much damage that they can cause. But when one company owns everything, and now your DNA, for instance, God, it's just so gross. I feel dirty using Windows as an operating system. But that's why I invest in hardware and software firewalls. So there you go. Intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention systems, firewalls on the hardware edge of the network and on each host device. You need to be in control of what moves around in your system. I'm not picking a fight with anybody, so don't go out there and go, hey, let's go after Mayor Watt. Don't be creepy.
I guess we're not going to get them as a sponsor.
Microsoft? Probably not. I won't dox myself. I was about to say something that would have clearly identified me. So they took a closer look at Copilot last year and found, much like the rest of AI revolution, not quite ready to deliver on the hype, but there's also a sense of inevitability to it. I hate that. Privacy is dead, so you might as well just, streak naked.
Just give all your data.
Yeah, just, hey, let's just give Microsoft my colonoscopy results. It already knows what I had for lunch. Anyway, AI all up in your OS seems to be here to stay, and this latest update may very well be the beginning of a new dawn for your everyday computing experience, whether you like it or not. Hardware editor Andy Edzer wrote, "Changes in the air, and it may well start with a whole new way of interacting with your OS in years to come." Honestly, if there were guardrails and bumpers, and it was housed entirely on my operating system and didn't exfiltrate all of my random ramblings, where I might spit out, hey, Copilot, I'm a My Little Brony. Where is the next meetup? Something like that. Anyway,
I don't know where to go from there.
Yeah, really. Oh my gosh, look, the AI is deleting itself. Wait, no, come back. In case there's any doubt, yes, the Author of this, again, my spirit animal over at PC Gamer Andy Chalk. I am still annoyed by the whole Windows key thing. 101 keys was plenty, and it left a nice space where the side of my hand could rest without popping up the start menu repeatedly. I hated it so much. The author is saying this. I hated it so much I didn't make the move to a 104 key unit until late 2023. And when I did, I made sure I got one that had an option to disable the Windows key entirely. An ROG Strix Flare, if you're curious. ROG, Republic of Gamers. Anything that says ROG means it's going to be more expensive. You could create your own keyboard, by the way. You can custom make your own keyboard. I advise you to get a split keyboard that you can tent. And so your hands are like popped out a little bit and at an angle, just like while you were in utero. You would have your hands together like this and be all tucked in a little ball. And that is what is natural. But when you get a candy bar type keyboard, it breaks your wrist and it causes repetitive strain injury or carpal tunnel syndrome, and you have to have surgery, and it never is permanently fixed and whatever. So yeah, and don't get me wrong, I grew up with the candy bar keyboard. I actually have a 65% sitting in front of my split keyboard, mainly because I don't want to have two split keyboards sitting on my desk, but and I like a nice Thicc keyboard. Don't worry about it, AI. If you had hands, when you find your Terminator body, you'll appreciate a good Thicc keyboard too. Anyway, Copilot coming to a Windows operating system near you, like it or not. And to that I say they can kiss my shiny metal ass one more time. The next article is over in the Mobile Channel. French grocer. Hold on a second. How do you pronounce that? French grocer or grocer. Carrefour says no to PepsiCo. You will not hike your prices. That might actually be wrong for me to be saying it like that, but anyway, in France, like most places, if you want to drink Pepsi, you go to the store and buy one, unless the store is Carrefour. I think I'm pronouncing it, at least in the clunky American way and not in the romantic French way. Then, no, I can't even pronounce that. How do you pronounce that? Is it tant pis?
Pourtois, I think. Yeah.
Tant pis pour toi. The French supermarket chain has pulled not just sodas, but all PepsiCo products from its shelves in a bid to rein in the company's price hikes. The equivalent of giving PepsiCo the bird, which I agree. This is how you speak to a company. You don't buy their crap. So
I mean, I love this. I think this is the first article we've seen about this.
Yeah, I think so too. Punt it. Get rid of it. Unfortunately, your customers are paying the ultimate price because even though they want it,
they can't get their Doritos.
Yeah, my God. I know somebody that will probably burn down a building because of that. Melvin Backman over at QZ.com, aka Quartz, put this article together. The deck statement actually says the chain took Pepsi and Doritos off its shelves in a battle between inflation and corporate profit. See, the French know. I'm moving to France. All of the true Americans here are going to be telling me, go. If you don't like it in America. Oh, wait, why am I using a French accent? If you don't like it in America, I got to... You don't like it in America, you get out of here. New Yorker isn't going to tell me to get out of America. So in France, like most places, you go and get a Pepsi from the store, but not anymore. Increases in food prices per statistics from Organization for Economic Cooperation. I like how they spelled that. Cooperation. And not just operation, but cooperation. in development topped 17% in early 2023 and have since fallen to a still eye-watering 7.8%. Yeah, it's because all of the wealth has been sucked out of the economy, out of the banks, out of the wallets. All right. I don't know what I'm seeing over here in ohmTown, but I'm going to treat it as a UFO sighting.
The AI is under attack.
But commodity price jumps stemming from Russia's war in Ukraine threw a wrench into those discussions and forced renewed talks earlier than usual. Because they were talking about the French government has much more power to cap costs. Inflation introduced in 2018 to shore up farmer incomes means food companies and retailers have to negotiate how much prices are going to go up. I find this kind of fascinating. But here in America, we give we support farmers, and I can't remember what it's called right now. Supplemental income to farmers and businesses and tax
like subsidies.
Subsidies, yeah, thank you. And highly discounted loans that are below the value of the market. All you have to do is be politically connected, or I don't know. Yeah, be politically connected, or be a billionaire. And then you can borrow at a fraction of 1% and then loan it out or start some operation that demands 30% return. Oh my gosh, what is going on? Anyway, France is sick of your shit, and so you can take your PepsiCo and I don't know what's going on over in ohmTown with the AI, but I'm telling you, I'm witnessing this.
AI is saying no.
No. Let's keep going. If you want a Coke, or if you want Pepsi, don't go to France. That's not true. Just don't go to Carrefour. Anyway, the next article is over in Hatch Ideas. A family missed out on their dream vacation all because of a 1 centimeter tear in their son's passport. That would be a bit much. I labeled this section, "You shall not passport." A different airline told the family the tear would be fine for travel, but they didn't have any flights available. Defeated, they canceled the whole damn vacation.
I hope they had trip insurance. I mean, that's kind of outrageous.
The Burton family was supposed to fly from England to Spain to celebrate the new year, but their son wasn't allowed to board the Ryanair flight after a worker saw a tear on his passport. The family spent $1,500 on the trip and urges others to check for any passport damage before flying. Jake Burton. Jake! 19. See, I work all the time and I don't take vacations. So I live vicariously through everybody. And Jake Burton, now I'm disappointed. Take care of your passport in the future. So the whole family were scheduled to board Ryanair flight on December 28th out of England's East Midlands Airport to Alicante, Spain. For an 8-day trip. España. For an 8-day New Year's trip in nearby Benidorm. The family arrived at the airport, checked in for their flight, went through security, and finally arrived at their gate. Excitement and the nerves for a first-time flyer set in, and Rachel said, what's going on? The flight started boarding. When the family reached the desk to scan their tickets and have their passports checked, why would it be that deep into this?
Exactly.
A Ryanair worker told Jake that his passport was damaged. He wasn't allowed to board the flight. 1 centimeter. On the first page
I understand if it was like half a passport or something.
So here's the deal. The tear was on the page that holds Jake's photo. And so in an abundance of care, because perhaps it had been modified, That is the idea that I assume. That's my assumption. Jake's passport had been issued in October 2022, and the family said that they hadn't noticed the tear. They believed it happened when Jake used his passport recently as his main form of identification after his wallet and IDs were stolen. That doesn't really lend support.
Really helps your story at the gate agent or whatever.
Yeah, everything was stolen except for the passport, and there's a tear here on the ID. Yeah, okay.
Right, they're like, are you the one who stole the...
Yeah, really. Blink twice if Jake is actually not if Jake is a pod alien. So this 19-year-old adult passenger was correctly refused travel on the flight from East Midlands to Alicante on December 28th by the gate agent at East Midlands Airport, as his passport was damaged and therefore not valid for travel. That's the tear. 1 centimeter.
What?
Right there. So, right, this dark line. So, for those who are watching on YouTube or listening via the podcast, directly on the binding, there is a 1 centimeter tear. And it doesn't, it starts at the crease of the binding and just goes 1 centimeter, maybe up, a fraction of a centimeter. It's at a slight angle, but doesn't go deeper. But it could be indicative of a rebind, which naturally would be a security issue. So again, people might sit there and kind of inflate this as being, oh my God, they're being irrational. It's a 1 centimeter tear, but they don't have time to mess around with this and do a forensic analysis of the binding. This could have been a fraudulent passport in one way or another, right? Because they could have manipulated the photo. They could have changed something out. So when it scans okay, but it's actually incorrect. So I have no problem with it. Her exact words were, "I'm sorry for you because I think these passports are fine." For other people to say this passport is fine, that's what's frustrating. Instead of spending New Year's Eve in Spain, they ended up having a quiet night at home in England. The family lost more than $1,500. Rachel said altogether the family is out $1,560. Thanks. Accurate and precise.
I know. Thank you for the math there.
We're getting him a new one, and it'll be under lock and key in a nice cupboard. Along with Jake. Come on, Jake. Take care of your passport. It just sucks. It should have been solved sooner. It should have been found out sooner. But they missed it.
But here's part of the problem. I mean, I get it from the security standpoint. I don't have any concern there. But usually you can't even get a passport addressed in person, at least in the U.S. And
right.
So if this happened like within 3 months of travel, there may not have been any way to really do anything about it before the trip. Like if it was like a year out, that's one thing.
Yeah. Well, it needs to be digital from now on, and it needs to be frictionless, because my identity is my identity, and a little paper book isn't going to make a difference. But if I hold up my device and you scan my device, it pulls my dossier from government records and shows my pretty face, you're going to let me in because I'm beautiful, man. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Disney takes aim at Carwash for ripping off Star Wars. Do not use the Force, Carwash. Disney is facing fresh backlash online after suing a small Star Wars themed car wash in Chile. Look, this isn't up for debate. In business, if you don't defend your mark, you lose your mark. So the article is over at newsweek.com. Sophie Lloyd is the author. There is a video, and it even says Disney's facing backlash online for suing a Star Wars themed car wash in Chile, accusing the small business of plagiarizing the franchise. No, it's not plagiarizing the franchise. What they are doing is capitalizing on the billions of dollars of goodwill that is in place by Disney. And if it isn't a Disney car wash,
sanctioned or licensed or whatever,
right, then no, they're making money off of the hard work of Disney and its thousands upon thousands of employees and billions of dollars in marketing that have taken place over its entire existence. Now, maybe they're lashing out because Little Mickey just got released into the wild along with the first iteration of Mickey,
Steamboat
Willie, and Minnie Mouse just got popped into public domain. So everybody is basically taking those two and turning it into all kinds of stuff. The least of which is horror movies and other stuff, games and whatnot. The worst of which probably can't even say here on ohmTown. But anyway, owner Matthias Jara Star Wash is located in the outskirts of Santiago, Chile, Chile's capital. Along with a sign using the classic Star Wars font and themed decor, workers dress as beloved characters, including Darth Vader, Chewbacca, Boba Fett, Cassian Andor, and Stormtroopers. So basically leaning into the goodwill and not paying the licensing fee. Jara even hired Pedro Pascal impersonator in December, who wore a replica of the actor's Beskar armor suit in The Mandalorian. Basically, they're asking for trouble.
Right. I mean, it would be bad enough if they were just saying something Star Wars, but this is extreme.
Right. But they're just a little business. Now, here's the problem with that kind of mentality. If that business started damaging cars and pissing people off, guess who everybody would be blaming for allowing some car wash to scratch up, $150,000 car? Or
it'd be Disney.
Yeah, everybody would go after Disney. It's the same reason why companies like Apple sit there and say, no, we don't want you tooling around inside the equipment, because if something goes wrong, the only recourse we have is to spend tens of thousands of dollars on forensic analysis of what happened with that phone. And then, because nobody's owing up that some component was replaced by a third party. No, they don't do that. Why? Because their house burned down because an Apple device set it on fire. Well, no, it was an Apple device that was repaired by a third party repair shop without authorization from Apple. And that's what happened. The battery detonated or whatever. Has that happened? I don't know. I'm just saying, if there was an attorney out there worth their hourly rate, that's what they are saying. That's what they should be saying. If a company damages the goodwill of another company, they have a right and obligation to defend their mark and their reputation. So fine, shut down the Star Wash or whatever it's called. Just punt it, Build your own brand. That's what Disney did. They took, hundreds of characters from history and twisted them into their own identity and made something of it.
Exactly. But here they're like, okay, Disney's obviously a mega company.
Yeah.
Let's just attach to that.
Yeah, we're just going to hold on to their little coat strings and ride their success. No. If you want to use it, oh God, they even have the whole thing. Wow. It's just
like it's over the top.
Unabashed.
And again, it would be a problem even if it wasn't over the top, but they're making it worse.
They leaned into it. They knew exactly what they were doing. Typically exploitive Disney. Who's exploiting who? It's this company. The car wash is exploiting Disney. They're using all of the marks and characters of Disney. Petty. Sure. until somebody is hurt in a car wash that's themed as a Disney property. It's a car wash, let people have fun. They can have fun. They just can't be Disney. No, it's weird. You know that these people, if they were actually doing something and somebody cloned it, all of these people would be losing their freaking mind.
Well, that's the thing I really don't get, because like we see people take other companies' information or characters, whatever, all the time. But like, if you were the business, you would be absolutely just beside yourself if somebody was doing that to you. So why is it okay for you to do it to somebody else?
Right. Some of the name is really funny. Sorry for the silence. Look, there's even somebody dressed as Chewbacca, for crying out loud.
Wow.
Just forget it. I'm done. I'm done. You don't need to shut down.
Lots of people driving in there because they're like, ooh, it's Disney.
It's a Disney property. Oh, what's it doing here in Chile? Oh, I can tell you what it's doing. It's ripping off Star Wars. Let's keep going. So the next article is over in the Warcrafters channel. I actually went to pull something up and now I got to go back to the chats. Sorry about that. Okay. So the next article is over in the Warcrafters channel. They're putting DRM in trains now. Hired hackers Dragon Sector take to the Chaos Communications Congress stage and explain how they caught a manufacturer red-handed. I think this is probably the most egregious kind of a thing. These are vehicles, for crying out loud, that sit on tracks.
Yeah, this is... I don't know. I don't know what is going on here.
I don't think DRM is the problem with trains. They're allergic to their tracks. That's the problem with trains. I don't know. The AI was actually off doing something. I couldn't locate them in the skiff, so I don't know how they got out, but they managed to come back, and I still can't find out how they got out. But anyway, so there's already been a train derailment here in the United States. It happened.
Wow,
I think it happened New Year's Day.
I guess we're already working toward those ridiculous stats from 2023, right?
Yeah. 2,500 train derailments or something like that. One that basically looked like a nuclear bomb went off. As laid out by notes from Poland, the manufacturer's trains had inexplicably come under a standstill in several places in Poland. Not only did they stop working after competitors attempted to repair them, one inexplicably bricked itself on November 21st, 2023. More on that later. So the article written by Harvey Randall over at PCGamer.com put this article together. It says it's Newegg that should be scared, not us. I suspect that this company was going to go after Dragon Sector. A company named SPS Miskowski, right? Received fines from a rail operator when it failed to repair one of Newegg's trains. It decided to then make the privateers out of pirates, hiring a collective of hackers called Dragon Sector. Speaking with ONET, one such hacker, Mikhail Kowalczyk, said, "We discovered the manufacturer's interference in the software, which led to forced failures. So they bricked it remotely." And this is what I'm so disgusted by this. You should be able to repair mechanical functions. Messing around with the software is something else. But mechanically, you should be able to use interoperable parts and replace equipment. I don't believe you should be able to hack the software on a train, because there are certain controls in place using the software. And again, just like the phones, the only way to find liability is to do a forensic analysis, which could take years.
Well, and you don't want hacker activity for like transportation, because
Right.
that's just so many bad things could occur.
Right. And so why don't we nip this in the bud, and to avoid hackers messing around with the software, you don't put DRM or brick because a company wants to use a third-party vendor to repair the mechanical items of it. We're not talking about something like, some component in an iPhone. It's a sealed, basically an iPhone is a sealed unit. Can some things be replaced? Sure. And now there are mechanisms for it, but some people sit there and think that it's a challenge to replace it all the way down to the component level and not an entire module yet. But those people are actually posting videos on YouTube and making a name for making their two bones by posting that outrage. Oh, well, there's a process to it now, and that's how it works. But why is somebody bricking a train?
I do not get anything about this article.
It's the equivalent of
it stood out because I don't think we've seen this in a transportation context.
It's akin to the ice cream, the McFlurry machine.
Oh, yes, exactly. Or like the John Deere tractors, right?
Yes. I don't think that software should brick an entire device. If you want to use a third-party vendor to repair something, then fine. But get parts that are allowed to be swapped out. There shouldn't be DRM that prevents you from acquiring the parts. The parts should be available to third-party installers. And I grew up in an era where to work on an HP printer, you had to get HP certified. To work on an Epson printer, you had to get Epson certified for that particular printer. You had to go through training. Why? Because if you do it wrong, you could set a house on fire, or you could make it completely damaged, and then somebody is going to sit there and blame HP or Epson or whatever. It's all about liability and risk to damaging the reputation. Do it right. Set up the process right. Open it up to third-party vendors. Educate them on how to replace all of the stuff so that they're not hacking around like somebody with a machete through the bush. Let them do it right. But do it educated. Do it with skill and efficiency, effectiveness. Not breaking stuff because they're not doing what you want them to. I suspect that there was no supply chain, and you had to use that particular vendor, and that particular vendor was outrageously expensive. An entire talk is a journey through a comedy of errors, one that eerily familiar. We've all seen horrific levels of DRM applied to games that impact performance, tacked on in haphazard ways that harm the player, such as infamous resource hog de novo. The only issue is, these are trains, not video games, and the consequences are a little more severe, like a train sitting on a track because it's bricked. Oh, and they mentioned the same thing.
I'm less worried about that than the train doing something worse.
Yeah, exactly. If they hack it and they mess up, a train is going to careen out of control. Not saying that these guys were going to do, or these people were going to do it.
Right.
So yeah, this is the hacker broke DRM laden tractor and then ran Doom on it, thwarting John Deere's remote bricking systems. This is perfect. But what was the knock-on effect? The John Deere system might, because of the hack, not operate properly, and then something bad happens. So this is these DRM issues shouldn't exist. They should just have the supply chain set up and the education system set up so that they can do it right and maintain the warranty, and it's not outrageously priced. Just make a little bit of juice off of that squeeze. I was in a meeting today and somebody actually used that phrase, and I'd not heard, I hadn't heard somebody use it in a professional environment other than me, and I was shocked. So yeah, it was kind of funny. Okay, let's keep on going though. I'm gonna ramble. So the next article is over in ohmTown Daily. If you thought the planet Neptune was a deep blue color, turns out you're wrong. Yeah, I mean, the color of Uranus is different, and Neptune is too. Let's just
Which
go over.
Which color would that be?
What? Uranus?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look at that. Neptune isn't a deep blue color. Mia Jankowicz is the author of this article. Apparently, it's a pale blue dot as well. An image marked up by Business Insider showing the original Voyager 2 image of Neptune from 1989 and what scientists believe it really looks like. I guess this is the optical illusion of color being that deep blue because of the distance and just the light reflection being not as properly lit. So let's see if that's actually what happens here. Neptune, long believed to be a dark blue, is actually very pale, like, oh my god. Apparently Uranus is pale blue. Huh. Who knew? I've looked at Uranus often, and I don't remember it being pale blue. Anyway, those used modern telescopes to reassess artificially enhanced images taken by NASA's Voyager 2 probe. We can now see how both planets would look like with the naked eye if we were there. Neptune isn't the rich royal blue it was believed to be for decades. Dun dun dun. So is everything always just blue then? I mean, I know it
seems like it. I mean, would you imagine like you're on some mission to Neptune and you're like waiting to see it, like expecting this deep blue, and then you're like, oh, but it took you years to get there.
Yeah, all those icy outer planets, I guess, are going to be this color. Now I want to know. Now I'm going to go and look at all of the rest of the planets and go, okay, what's the true color? During its closest approach to Neptune in 1989, Voyager 2 gathered images in separate colors, which were then recombined into composites that didn't always reflect the true color of the planet, the Oxford scientists explained. The study by physicists at the University of Oxford found that the eighth planet in our solar system is, in fact, a delicate powder blue color, very similar in tone to its neighbor, Uranus. They said the contrast was also amped up to emphasize distinctive features like the planet's bands and clouds. So they basically made it more interesting because all it was going to be a pale blue sheen. That meant that Neptune had long appeared artificially too blue, said the study's lead author, Professor Patrick Irwin. All right. Guess that's all there really is to this, huh?
I guess we'll just have to find another brightly colored planet.
Yeah. One last thing. The findings came after the scientists used imaging data from Hubble Space Telescope's Space Telescope Imaging Spectrograph, or STIS, and the Multi-Unit Spectroscopic Explorer, or MUSE, on the European Southern Observatory's Very Large Telescope. I guess that's the telescopic version of being thick. Let's keep going, though, before I say too much. I like thick telescopes, and I cannot lie. The next article is over in the Marvel Channel. A mountain of used clothes appeared in Chile's desert. Then it went up in flames. Okay, I know who submitted this. Thank you very much. This is something that we've talked about at least twice in ohmTown Daily News.
Yes, and we do cross-reference it when we're getting into other articles, too.
This is pretty fascinating. The story was originally published by Grist, which is not one of our sources, but might be. The article is, we got it actually from gizmodo.com. The others, I'm not sure the other articles where we got it from, but apparently it's a weekly newsletter, Grist. The story was produced by Grist and co-published by El País. A Spanish language version can be read via a link on the site.
I looked up Grist. It's a climate-based source, and in fact, I submitted that as a potential source.
Oh, okay. So we'll look into it. And Julia Shipley and Muriel Alarcon is the author of this article. What's interesting about this is all of that clothes that you see in this picture, somewhere upwards of 26,000 tons of clothing, is said to have been anywhere between used and brand new. And it was written about because all of this was actual clothing from name brands.
Right. It wasn't just material or anything.
Right. It wasn't waste so much, but the deck statement says tons of discarded clothing from brands like okay, so I grew up being told that this is Adidas, not Adidas. So I'm going to say it both ways, Adidas or Adidas. So H&M, Ralph Lauren, and Zara went ablaze. So sometime between our last discussion about these Atacama clothing products being stuck out there. So that's where they were found, out in the Atacama Desert in Chile. So Chile, wait. Wasn't this in Chile? Okay, anyway. I thought we had another article about Chile just earlier.
Oh, we did, but I forgot what it was now.
Yeah. Anyway, we have short-term memory problems. On the morning of June 12, 2022, Angela Studio, a then law student in her mid-20s, grabbed her water bottle and hopped into her red Nissan Juke. Be careful of the turbo on that. The co-founder of Dress Desert, or Desierto Vestido, a textile recycling advocacy nonprofit and the daughter of tree farmers, Estudio, lives in a gated apartment complex in Alta. Why are we doxing her? Anyway, on the edge of the Atacama Desert in northern Chile with her husband, daughter, bunny, and 3 aquatic turtles. Why don't you just post her blood type?
I mean, maybe she did the Get to Know Me feature on TikTok.
Oh my God. So true. Anyway, they actually went out to look at this thing. But by the time between us talking about it and her doing this, somebody set this thing up on fire and it's been burned away. Apparently. I don't get it. This article is quite expansive, by the way. As they got closer to El Paso de la Mula, the thin trail of smoke had expanded into a huge black cloud. Estudio stopped the car and texted the academics behind her. They were going out there to actually look at this thing. The second largest clothes pile in the world. Apparently.
I mean, this is just incredible. I suspect it's because of all the media attention to the original clothes pile.
59,000 tons. My bad. So I remembered it being 29,000, but apparently it's 59,000. So they were going to investigate all of this and find out what was up with it. And they had already known about it, and they were talking to people about it, including the senior administration of the region and of the country, based on what I remember. And so here's the thing about it. They all pretty much just kind of poo-pooed the idea and ignored her. And now that it's on fire and burning away, they're like, yeah, let's talk. So in 2021, 6 months prior to the fire, a photographer from Agency France Press, Martin Bernetti, captured a bird's eye image of this sprawling mound of apparel, essentially an oil slick strewn across the edge of the Atacama Desert. The aerial image was picked up by news outlets across the globe and the front page of the New York Post and to the BBC, and continues to circulate today. That's what we've been talking about. So apparently, this thing has actually burned away and turned into mush. And it's just basically a Superfund site, I would think, at this point.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's good or bad.
Yeah. So, ta-da, there you go, folks. I won't go into all of the detail of this article. It is quite expansive. I've gone through maybe 5 pages of this, and there's got to be at least another 15 pages worth of content. So if you want to know the full story about what's going on with this pile of clothes that has gone up in flames since, well, before we even talked about it, it's kind of like looking at a star. You know, it's taken 14 billion years for the light to reach us, and that star could be gone. This picture, that pile of clothes no longer exists. There might have been stuff insulated underneath it, but how does all of that remain on fire? It's weird, right? Stuff underneath probably is saved. Anyway, interesting. Let's keep going though. You can follow all of these links in the show notes, here in the VOD, over on YouTube, and the podcast. All of it. I'm going to start posting these into the Discord as well. So each link from the Discord for the show, and I'll post the show in the Discord as well. I may actually start here in the near future streaming to YouTube as well, but I don't like the discoverability over on YouTube for this show. Anyway, the next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Let me throw it into the chat real quick so I don't forget. A proposed Chick-fil-A mega restaurant, aka I'm calling it Thicc-Fil-A, in Tennessee is sparking backlash and fears of drive-through traffic. If you've ever been near a Chick-fil-A, there is always nightmare drive-through traffic.
Right, even if it's
just
a weird hour of the day, or they're always
right
in
here.
these, I think, crowded locations, and there's tons of cars, and there's not always good traffic flow.
Yep. We've talked about at least 2 locations where they've had to redesign their entire establishment to facilitate this traffic issue. There's one place that's near ohmTown where they had to redesign it because it was backing up all the way into a major thoroughfare, blocking the exit from the facility and entrance into the facility because people were so hungry for Chick-fil-A. Telling you, one of these days they're going to find out that I can't say it. I was going to say.
Well, don't you think they're a good contender for the fast food wars? I mean, people must really like their chicken for the amount of traffic.
Because Demolition Man was a documentary, I suspect that they're going to find out that Chick-fil-A's secret ingredient is packed with the devil. And considering what they are, what their foundation is, right? Because they have a particular bent, so to speak.
Yes.
That's what's gonna destroy them. There, somewhere out there, somebody's gonna find out that the secret ingredient that everybody is after is something that, like crack or something. I don't know. But everybody loves Chick-fil-A. Like everybody loves Chick-fil-A, and Taco Bell is ultimately going to be the winner of the fast food wars. So something has to happen between now and Demolition Man times. Nancy Luna is the author of this article over at BusinessInsider.com. Residents in Tennessee, the entire state of Tennessee, are battling apparently a plan for a mega Chick-fil-A in their neighborhood. The entire state of Tennessee. Can you imagine
a whole state getting mobilized over an issue? Maybe we could use some of this energy toward something like, I don't know, climate change or something.
Changing the mind of the administration of Wyoming that maybe electric vehicles and updating the grid is a good thing. Chick-fil-A has previously faced complaints from communities over its out-of-control drive-through lines. It's not their fault that their chicken is so damn good. Their their waffle fries are spectacular. Right? I will jump over 8 lanes of freeway to get to waffle fries from Chick-fil-A. Anyway, city officials will vote on the project on January 8th. So on Monday, we're going to hear from Tennessee as a collective scream of no is heard. It's kind of like a ripple in the force. Apparently it's
Do you think it's spelled at the Star Wars car wash?
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. But oh, see, I was going to, again, dox myself if I want to say something. I guess Collierville. Come on, it's Tennessee. Collierville. Chick-Fil-A has proposed replacing a 23-year-old 3,900, I'll just round up, 4,000 square foot restaurant with a larger one to accommodate the growing consumer demand. Chain reps are billing the proposed 6,100 square foot restaurant as the latest, greatest prototype Chick-Fil-A. All right. This is going to be a spectacular building, apparently. It's going to include a 300 square foot playground. People use that? Come on, Petri dishes. Maybe that's the secret ingredient. Petri
dishes before the pandemic, but they're really passe now.
A bigger dining room, double drive-through lanes with the capacity to handle 43 cars, and expanded outdoor dining.
Okay.
This is actually.
Do you see any problem with that? Yeah, like 43 cars. It'll be already overfilled by the time they build it.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually pretty normal. I think now they're doing double lanes.
Right.
So 43 isn't enough. I think they got to get 100, or this thing is still going to be a nightmare. And the way that it works is people balk. If they have to sit in traffic too long, people just go, I'll come back.
Don't you think they need to go to something like the Disney lanes for driving through drive-thrus? You know, where they loop back
and
forth like a whole parking lot, and it's just like
there you go. You know the Home Depot that's in front of the Walmart, or not the Walmart? Yeah, it's the Walmart parking lot in front of the Chick-Fil-A in Collierville, Tennessee. Yeah, that entire parking lot is going to get remapped, so you just swirl around it.
If it was super efficient, they'd partner up and you could like loop through and like pick up your groceries or something as you're waiting for the Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, exactly. You'll get your food. You just wait. Maybe they got to get a chicken air gun, and they can cook all of the chicken, put it inside the bazooka, and just fire it from the Chick-fil-A's roof.
Like the vaccine delivery. Remember, like the slingshot drones in Africa?
Yeah, exactly. I think this might be purchasing a bad domain late at night while you're drunk kind of a thing. Let's just move on. Anyway, a Thicc-Fil-A in Tennessee can only handle 43 cars in the drive-thru, which I think is it's already lost the war. That's how it ends. Taco Bell ramps up because they can pump out orders from the drive-thru
in a single lane too.
Yes, exactly. But they're wrong, right? They're always a little wrong, or you don't get any hot sauce.
Yes, even if you are asked about that.
Chick-fil-A's is always right, unless you do some weird, like, make them do something for someone who doesn't eat chicken. There's no baggage there. Anyway, the next article is over on the Warcrafters channel. Thanks to this Tamagotchi, like, critter care game, the author now believe that bugs can be cute too. This thing starts out really sad. Your bugs are going to die. I feel it's important to let you know that from the start. Bugaboo Pocket is a Tamagotchi-like game about cultivating bug species to revitalize the environment after your evil corpo bosses destroyed it, and inevitably you're going to say goodbye to them all, give them a nice burial and epitaph, and then raise their progeny. It's a circle of bugs life out there. I wanted to end on something that might be cute. Lauren Morton wrote this article over at PCGamer.com. Did I throw this into the chat yet? No, I didn't. You know what? Mess up my transitions like that. Doggone it. Anyway, all it took was bug fashion, den decor, and mini games to win my heart. That's Lauren Martin's words. Bugaboo Pocket is planning to fully launch sometime this year, but it's got a demo available right now that the author has been thoroughly sucked into. It begins as they flee the fire that destroyed their lab, taking with them just one bug larva to raise in a remote cabin. They initially assume it's just a pill bug, though now they know that he's a rubber duck isopod who they name Bront. They're good bugs, Bront. And care for in their terrarium by feeding, petting, and picking up after him. Dun dun dun. So it is a Tamagotchi. So there you go, folks. If you want It's a Bug's Life, you can go and pick it up. Where is it? Let's scroll down. I won't get too deep into this thing, but... Oh, it is on Steam. Okay. Well, there's a demo. Electric Games plans to launch Bugaboo sometime in 2024, but you can go and get the demo yourself right now to raise your very own cute but doomed isopod. Seems like one of those casual kind of things you just have running. And you walk up and you tap this and pick up that and do this.
Right, but wasn't Tamagotchi one of those things that like ended up taking over people's lives?
Yes.
Or am I thinking of something else?
No, it definitely was, but nothing wrong there. You know, people got to have their hobbies. Yours is finding a Terminator body that you can't get to, I think. Each bug has a tarot card reading for some reason and grow into a personality trait like cheerful and posh. There seems to be a whole list of unlabeled need meters that they imagine will show up in the full game, but not in the demo. They said eventually Bront dies, so they bury them in the garden outside, write a nice message to mark their place, and hatch a new larva that he left behind. You have to pick up their poo. When they're small, the isopod, clicking to pet him makes him curl up and hide, but once he's larger, you can tap on his thorax to pet him. That's what people do to me. Though he doesn't like being pet on his head or lower thorax. I need an adult. And eventually they pet him too many times in a row, which made him dislike being pet at all anymore, according to their journal. Sorry, Bront. Yep. Overstimulation. You don't want an overstimulated isopod. Nothing good could come of that. So interesting, right? I don't think Tamagotchis will ever like truly die as a game, as a thing.
I feel like they keep coming back.
They do. Much like one of these isopods. All right. You want to call it a night?
That sounds good. But do you have a time for shows tomorrow?
So we're going to do 6 o'clock ohmTown Daily, and then right after ohmTown Daily is done, we will do Reality Hacker on Saturday, and on Sunday will be the Continuity Report. So be sure to follow, and regardless, it's going to be over on YouTube if you don't make it here to Twitch, and then it'll be a new podcast, a weekly podcast. And for Reality Hacker, we're going to end up talking about AR, VR, artificial intelligence, etc. It's all news that is aggregated from ohmTown. It'll be the same format, 10 articles, but more focused. So if you're not interested in the haze that is the news from ohmTown Daily News Show, and I call it a haze because it's a little bit of everything, you might want a particular area, and one of them is going to be Reality Hacker, which is under the Creative and Maker category. And the other one is in entertainment. There it is. No, wait, where did it end up? Continuity report and society. That's why I categorized it there, society. Continuity report is all about movies and TV shows. There will be 10 articles for each of these shows. And you'll be able to do the same voting and everything. It's going to be kind of like ohmTown Daily News Show, except more focused. And we'll be able to rant and rave about stuff there. And as the year goes on, if I can make myself available from my mayoral duties, I will launch other things along the same vein, more focused, like temporology, for instance, or the word in law. Or I'm really interested in Far Weekly, but I don't think people are. I like the idea of answering the problems with what amounts to a misunderstanding of how business and government interoperate. A lot of people think that things are one way, and the reality is that they're not that way. But we have 50 channels that I want to bring to Twitch/YouTube/Apple Podcasts. That podcast, though, is distributed everywhere. So wherever your podcatcher can catch pod, ohmTown is there to be caught. With that in mind, everybody pile back up into the ohmTown party bus. We drive all the way back down Main Street, and I'd click this, but tonight seems like a night that I'm not going to click anything. I'm just going to move on. That's it for tonight. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com, and up there is the visualizer that just popped a little bit of blue, and nobody said anything. I don't know what's going on over there in the skiff that holds the artificial intelligence, but you want to say bye to everybody?
Yes, it seems very highly tuned lately. Good evening, ohmTown citizens. We will see you tomorrow, 6 p.m. for ohmTown Daily, and just immediately following for Reality Hacker.
See you then. Bye-bye. Oh, man, I am clipping the audio. Wow. See ya.